Can you think of any specific examples where Ben has been frustrated with you for times that you haven't done things the way he wanted?
I can't think of a specific example, but I could probably say that about any of my kids, especially as I'm getting older. I don't have the knowledge with, I can't even think of the word, with electronics and computers and that kind of thing. And, well, Mom, why didn't you do it this way? All my kids do that, so that's not.
But you can't think of any specific examples of times where Ben has been frustrated with you?
Test and answer. Keep answering.
I don't know how to answer because I can't think of anything right off.
As we go on, if you do remember any times situations where Ben was frustrated with you, let me know, will you?
Okay, sure.
I
remember a time when he was a child.
Great.
We went to a grocery store and he wanted something and I refused and he cried and we had to leave the grocery store. And that was hard because I had a whole bunch of kids. I had to leave the grocery store and not get it done.
The fifth of
But
seven,
that was,
yes. Yeah.
I'm sure there are times with each of my children that I was frustrated with them. So.
Sure, yeah. Okay, I appreciate you remembering that and sharing it. Do you trust Ben?
Yes.
Would you be willing to lie to protect Ben?
No, I do not lie. I did make that statement, like I said. I regret it because that wasn't the truth. I guess I did then.
Then you keep looking at Natalie when you say that, or is there a reason you're looking at Natalie when you say that?
I think she thinks different.
And what do you mean you think she thinks different?
She's convinced that I meant what I said.
Did you ever seek mental health help for Ben as he was growing up?
No.
To your knowledge, has Ben ever been diagnosed with any mental health issues or disorders?
To my knowledge, no.
Have you ever had concerns about Ben's mental health?
Oh, we wondered, and we asked about it, but a counselor said she could not diagnose that without visiting with him.
So you asked a counselor about that?
Mm-hmm.
Who was the counselor?
I don't remember. She's with church services.
Approximately when was this?
Oh, 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago.
And what precipitated you asking a counselor that question? Had something happened?
Yes, we had some problems with communicating with him, and he said some things that we worried were life-threatening to himself, and so we ended up going to a counselor to try to resolve those concerns, and it was asked of her, do you think that he has a particular problem? And she said, there's no way I could diagnose it without visiting with him. He was not diagnosed.
So, and I appreciate that. So I think my question earlier that I'd asked was, did you ever sought mental health assistance for Ben? And it sounds like the answer was yes.
It was for our family, for our relationship, my husband and I and Ben.
Is there a difference in that for you?
It wasn't particularly for Ben. It was that we would understand what he was going through as well.
But you were concerned that Ben might be having suicidal thoughts. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And you went to a counselor based upon those concerns?
Mm-hmm.
Two lines down from that, you wrote, he doesn't deserve to have a son. Is that the one that you referenced earlier?
Yes.
And then you said he has the history of problems. Do you see that?
Yes.
What is the history of problems?
It's there. You've seen it in what I wrote.
And I'll be candid, this is why I'm asking. In this deposition, you've said that you trust Ben, that you didn't have concerns about his mental health growing up, and there were a number of questions that I've asked early in this deposition that seem to contradict these statements. And I have a situation where you've been identified as a witness at trial, and I'm going to have to be asking you questions on the stand, and I'm trying to identify which of these narratives is accurate. And so I wasn't able to really identify many problems with you earlier, and that's why I'm now asking you to help me identify when you said Ben has a history of problems. I need to know specifically what you meant by that.
He has a history because he left our family for 7 years or whatever, and it hurt me deeply. But he was doing what he was advised to do. He is a good man. He is not evil. I'm not perfect either. And I agree with Natalie when she said he isn't perfect, but he's not evil or bad.
And he saw me behind the door and he said, Grandpa, Grandpa. which alerted my son and his daughter to my presence. And Natalie came out and asked me to leave, and so I left.
Is this your son Tony?
It is.
This was Tony's daughter that was being baptized?
Right.
You were estranged with, having a strange relationship with Tony?
To me, it's a form of abuse to withhold those precious moments. And it's your fault. And I don't appreciate it.
Let the record reflect you're looking at my client as you say that.
That's right.
And so it says, for several months James was not allowed to come to our house because Ruth was there. You see that?
I do.
What do you mean by that?
Natalie, in my opinion, Natalie was abusive to my wife, saying that she was unfit to be James's grandmother. And so she didn't want James in our home because she felt, in my opinion, that James was exposed to somebody unworthy, which I consider horrendous abuse.
And specifically, what do you consider to be horrendous abuse?
That she would declare that the very person that is most Christ-like that I've ever met
I'll ask you to look at me, not my client.
is unworthy.
Russ, I'm going to ask you to look at me. I'm asking the questions.
He's allowed to look wherever he
He's
wants.
not allowed to stare down my client in deposition.
Your client's been staring down the witnesses this whole deposition.
Very much so.
She's allowed to look at
She's been
witnesses.
awful this whole time.
There's no intimidation.
I'm going
They're
to ask
looking at
everybody
each
to
other.
stop, please.
So I know I don't communicate the best I do. Please don't just blame Ben. He needs help and prayers and love too. He needs to feel understood and loved, and I don't understand him well, so he needs someone else who can. And how did you respond to that statement?
So sorry that you're missing your baby shower, and so sorry for the sadness. We don't understand how he can be so selfish. She knew that these words were written down and could be used against us.
Is it your testimony that my client baited you into saying these things so she could use them against you in a divorce?
It's happening.
And so is that your understanding that this text exchange, she's baiting you into saying these things so that you could use them against her in a divorce?
It's happening.
All right. So, Mrs. Spain, isn't it true that when Tony asked you about filing something in court, making statements that Ben tricked Natalie into marrying her, that you said, I don't know where you're getting your information, I know nothing about an affidavit, is that correct?
Correct. I didn't know it was called an affidavit, and I read through it later. But I don't know if it was Tony that's asking this.
Okay.
I think it's someone else.
Okay. And on the next page that you're asking him to send you a copy of that and saying, I do not remember saying that under oath. Had you forgotten that you had signed?
I've forgotten that that's where he had seen it, yes.
So
I've
you
forgotten
forgot
that it was in that piece of paper.
So you had forgotten that you had written a document making those statements that had been filed with the court?
I had forgotten that that particular part was in there, yes.